All right, guys, welcome back to A Football Show and Downtown Rams 2023 NFL Draft Prospect Interviews. Joining us on the show right now, we have cornerback Nic Jones from Ball State. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited to get to know you a little bit. We'll kick off something easy, a little icebreaker here. We just want to know what your favorite TV show, your favorite food, and your favorite place in the world is.
Favorite TV show right now is probably BMF for sure. I don't have one specific favorite food. Probably any type of shrimp, or I'm kind of simple, or like a good burger or something. Favorite place in the world is either man. Well, I ain't been that many places, so it's either Detroit or I don't know. It probably have to be Detroit. That's my favorite place in the world.
Well, there you go. You said BMF for your TV show.
It's on Stars.
So what is? I don't know, Alexis, if you know what that is. I don't. So I'm just curious what it's about.
So BMF basically is based on a true story. It's like a recount of this. I'm gonna just say this group, like this crew that ran around the city in Detroit, way back in like the '80s, '90s to like the 2000s. It's about Big Meech and his brother Southwest T, and kind of like they rise to it. So it's in the early stages now. They still like teenagers or like early 20s. So it's in the early stages. But it's good though. Most of the stuff is like fictionalized because like it really happened. But it's good. Yeah, you should tap in. It's on Stars. So if you got a Stars account, BMF, there you go.
We'll definitely put it on our list. We love asking this question because we've gotten so many great shows out of it. So I trust that that's a really good show. Like last year is when we started asking that question, and we've watched so many. Like we've just been taking like everything that every player says and then just like cycling through them. Jake more than me, I'll admit. Jake really like watched a lot of shows last year.
I deprived myself from TV, Alexis, for probably 95% of my life. It was just sports on TV. That's all cable was for. I didn't really watch TV shows. And so now I'm catching up essentially. So that's why.
Yeah. But so start with the football questions. When was it that you started playing football, and how did you get into the sport?
I was 6 years old. My big brother played, and my dad took us to. Well, he took me to pretty much like every practice. Like I ain't gonna say every practice, but like I went to so many, it was just addicting. Like I watched it all the time. Like just because the people in front of me, that's all they kind of talked about was sports, and football was kind of just the sport. I was around it a lot, so I would definitely say just being around it as a kid. And like my dad would tell you, I used to run out like onto the field when I was like 3, 4. They look up, see me missing for a couple seconds. So it was kind of just natural.
Now, when you were young and, getting into the sport, did you have a favorite NFL player you might have looked up to, or just anybody that you admired?
I'd probably say my favorite player is probably Calvin Johnson, just because my favorite team was the Lions and he was our best player. So I definitely like Megatron for sure.
He was a blast to watch.
Yeah, definitely a great player. Iconic. One to pick for sure. When was it, so you're growing up, you're playing football. When was it that you kind of had a sense that you could make a career out of this?
I guess I would say the feeling was always there. Like as a kid, it was more just like my wildest imaginations. But the idea of actually, like I could go to the NFL and not more of it being an idea was, I'd say, probably around the end of high school. I started getting like a couple scholarship offers, and I thought just at this point, if somebody giving me my shot, I just got to make good on it. I'm about to go play Division One, so I feel like I had a chance there.
And Nic, what is, if there is one, what is the most unique thing about you that people don't know?
The most unique thing about me, I'm extremely creative. Like I don't know how to really articulate that, but I'm extremely like imaginative. I have a reason and an explanation for everything. I come up with a lot of stuff spur of the moment. I don't know. I say I'm spontaneous.
Yeah, I
dig
like
it.
that question. I like that question because it's always fun to know, like, everyone has like this unique thing about them that other people might not know. Because that's something about myself too. I'm like a very, and Jake knows this because he's one of my good friends, but I'm a very creative person as well. And sometimes I'll meet people and I'll mention, oh, I like, writing or something creative that I do. And they're like, oh, I didn't expect that from you. Like, you're kind of like into sports or, do other things. So it's cool to ask that question. It's just something that we like to know. But Ball State, what was the main factor for you in choosing Ball State?
Just felt like home. Everything about it. I liked the way that the staffing. It was kind of structured at the time, and just the way they embraced me. They were early on. They were heavy on me. That was my first scholarship offer, so they were real heavy. Just from the jump. Every time I showed up, went down one time with a teammate. The love was there. I went down with my mom, catered to me, catered to her. They made sure like they would take care of me. Biggest thing to me was just making that transition to life. Like football was important, but I really wanted somebody who was going to take care of me, help me develop just as a person, just because I had never been so far away from home on my own. And it's only 3 hours and some change, but that was, to me, like my whole world really existed within 20 minutes. So going out there, just knowing I would be taken care of for sure.
Now, you play in a league, the college football landscape is insane with talent. It's just everywhere. This draft, I've barely scratched the surface on watching wide receivers, and I can tell it's just full of them. Is there anybody that stands out to you as the toughest guy that you've gone up against?
I wouldn't say in this class, just because like the guys we got to see, like we played, a couple schools with some guys, but I would say over time, I'd say Sky Moore. He's probably the best player I've ever guarded in my life, and he was in my own conference, so we didn't have to go play a big school, quote unquote, to go see him. But in this class, I don't know. We didn't, get out not too many guys that were like you would see in this draft class.
Sky Moore is a great answer. He definitely seems like he'd be pretty tough to guard.
Oh, yeah.
But in terms of games, which this is kind of a tough question, and there might be more than one answer to this, but is there a favorite game that you played in during your college career?
It was my personal favorite game was my freshman year against Northern Illinois. I was still in a nickel at the time, but like I had a pretty good game. They got up like 14-0 on us. Like I want to say their first two possessions, they went back-to-back touchdowns. And then it just started pouring rain out of nowhere for the rest of the game. We ended up coming back and winning. I had a pretty good game. We hit like 4 field goals in the rain. It was crazy. And it was the first time we had beat them in like 7 years. So that was probably like my personal favorite game. But my favorite game to be a part of, I didn't play, like do as much in it, but it was the MAC championship my sophomore year because we won it. So I'd say one of those two.
And now, playing the quarterback position, what would you say is the most important trait, to man that position?
Discipline. Just because it's so easy, to make one false step, let your eyes wander here or there, hands in the wrong spot, get flagged. Like it's so much discipline from the time the ball snapped until the time the whistle blow that it takes just to be a half decent corner. I don't think people realize.
And what sets you apart, in your opinion, from other corners in this class? What is it about you? I guess what is your favorite quality to your game?
I say my versatility, just because like I think I got an interesting blend of just size and movement and coverage feel. I really don't think there's nowhere I don't thrive in coverage. I played in the nickel, I played on the outside, I can play off in space, I can press. If you're a fast guy, I can run with you. If you're a big guy, I can get up on you. Like there really isn't a matchup I personally don't think I would do good in.
Now, what is one area of your game you feel you need to improve on the most?
Just my consistency when I press. Like I like to play in space a lot. I'm a real footy guy. I like to challenge myself movement wise. I think I could be at least at the line a little more physical, given how long I am.
And this next question is just a fun question, and I love hearing answers to this. But what wide receiver are you most looking forward to matching up against in the NFL? If you had to pick one to guard, would it? And
If I
you've
had to pick
already,
one,
yeah, because I was gonna say you could say Sky Moore, so you could get a rematch against Sky Moore, but maybe it's a different answer.
Now I definitely would like to guard Sky again, but I would
Mm,
say probably Justin Jefferson, just because he's
yeah.
so smooth and there's nothing he really can't do. He makes it look real easy, and I'm just like, I want to see, like, is it really that easy? Like, he's ridiculous, and he gets the ball a million times a game. So I know you get in front of him, you in for a great challenge.
Yeah, you're not wrong. He does make it look really easy. I don't know. There's something about him, like when he has the ball in his hands, it's like you can feel like the swagger just based on like the way he even like runs with the football. It's honestly one of the most bizarre things. Like you said, I mean, he's just so smooth. Now, what I want to ask you, kind of more, a fun question, sticking with that, but on the quarterback side. Is there a quarterback that you want to pick off the most in the NFL?
Um, Probably before this year, I would have said Tom Brady because it's Tom Brady. But I don't know. I guess I'd say Pat Mahomes just because he's the best and he scares everybody. So I mean, you can get a pick off Pat Mahomes. You're doing something right.
Yeah, we like Jake and I were just talking about this. Every year before this year was always Tom Brady. I'd say like 97% of the time it'd be Tom Brady. And so we were wondering who was going to take over now that Tom Brady retired. We're like, what are people going to start saying? Like, who do they want to pick off because they can't say Tom Brady anymore? And now it's early, but it looks like it might be Patrick Mahomes because
I
that's
think
the
it's
answer
Patrick
that
Mahomes.
yeah, that's the answer that we get the most now for that question, and deservedly so because it'd be an achievement to pick him off. I mean, he's insane. Um, but this pre-draft process, we're still pretty early on in the process at the moment. But just kind of, if you could walk us through what your pre-draft process has looked like. Are you training somewhere? Have you participated in any events? Just things like that. And again, it's early. The combine still, or not the combine, the draft is still a few months away. But what's it looked like for you so far?
A little bit of everything. So I've been at training down in Fort Lauderdale at XPE for a little over a month. I kind of got a break in between there because I had to go to Vegas for the Shrine Bowl. That definitely was fun for sure. That was a fun week out there for me. I enjoyed the game. I feel like I had a good game. And then it's been right back to training for the most part. That's just kind of how it's been. Kind of lowering on the intensity because we got the combine coming up in a week, but we've been getting to it for a while now.
So you have to choose one. Do you love to win more or do you hate to lose more?
I hate losing. I definitely hate to lose more.
It's a tough question, and I change my answer on that all the time for me personally. But yeah, I don't like losing. And I think sometimes I don't like losing more than the joy of winning gives me. So yeah, I think that's a good answer, even though it is tough.
I
But
always
before I
think
ask
of
you
it
this,
because, like, mm-hmm. I
oh no,
always think
sorry,
it's
go ahead.
like if I could, I would tie before I would lose. But like I losing is horrible.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
can't.
it's I always thought of it like just watching the Super Bowl and watching the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, I can't imagine being in that locker room for the Eagles. Like, on one hand, you're the NFC champions, like you were this close, but on the other hand, you were this close and you lost, and it's just like you have to deal with that the whole off season. Like, at some point or another, I think a lot of teams, when they lose in the regular season or they lose even early on in the playoffs, it's like, all right, go to Cancun or whatever, like just move on, right? They're already in the
Mm-hmm.
off season mindset. But man, if you're the Eagles and you lose in the Super Bowl, like you got to the final game, that's the final game of the season. It's like there's not much time before free agency kicks off. There's not much time before the draft, and so yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I don't even know how you deal with that. Like,
I don't care
obviously
if it's the
teams
Super
do, but
Bowl. It don't matter if it's the Super Bowl or Uno pickup basketball. Like, I don't want to lose. Like, I can't stand it's just a game. If you lose and say it's just a game, I'll never play with you again. Like, I can't stand it. I want to win.
I'm with you there.
And real quick, how was your experience at the Shrine Bowl? Because I know that's a really fun time and a really cool experience.
Man, it was super cool just because you got to play under a staff for the whole week, and I was in luck. We got the Patriots. And just to see how they operated and the level of professionalism everybody moved around with, communicated with, it was special for sure. And then obviously, getting around all the guys, kind of getting to make new teammates because miss my old teammates. So I got to get that feeling back of being on the team and stuff. And competing against other guys that are in the same shoes as I am was fun. And all the facilities were crazy. We were in Raiders, so all their stuff is brand new. So I would say that was probably one of my football highlights, like, of my life. That was a very fun week.
That's really cool. And, kind of a follow-up question here. Like, what's the difference between like a Bill Belichick, like, coaching staff, as it compared to the coaching staff you had at Ball State?
I would actually say they're kind of similar just because we stole a lot of their team concepts. I wouldn't say stole, but like we used a lot of their team concepts. Like they're heavily special teams oriented, and we prioritize that to the max. They squeeze the most out of every single player. Like he's no nonsense, no BS, straight to the point. And obviously it's college, so it's a little more relaxed because you're dealing with kids essentially. But it's like Ball State times 1,000 just because every detail is picked apart and is needled just because everything about them, it's Patriots, always been about the details. Us, we're a small school. Most people will say we have less talent, quote unquote. So like everything about us was fine tuning the details as best as we could so we can get the most out of what we do got. So it was similar, but it's a different level when he talks, you should see the room. It's a different level.
I can imagine that it would be intense. I get the vibe. It's very intense. Cool, like a cool vibe, but kind of like, oh my gosh, like this is like Bill Belichick.
Deathly silent,
right?
but it's like, man, it's Bill Belichick, but like, man, it's crazy.
Well, it's definitely an experience to remember forever, for sure. Definitely very cool to be a part of. But, in closing here, in your own words, who is Nic Jones as a player and who is he as a person?
Just tough and dependable as a player and as a person. I think that's one thing that sets me apart is it really don't matter what the job is, how big, how small, how important. If it's getting the shine, if it's not getting the shine, I'm going to get it done.
I love it, man. Well, hey, we really appreciate your time and, we know you're busy. So, again, really appreciate you fitting us in your schedule. And, if you ever need anything from us, do not hesitate to hit us up. We're happy to help you however we can. And we'll have to stay in touch.
Man, no doubt. I appreciate y'all a lot for having me. Thank you very much.